Today on Shiro's.
I remember I walked into a meeting and I got there and they were all men. Because for security, they're looking at a man should write. It's a man's world. So the person that was chairing the meeting was like, oh, so Ms. Leonards, are you here representing your boss? And I'm like, no. I said, I'm representing myself and I'm the boss.
That when I worked in, a wonderful company, one of the things that hit me one day was realizing that a male colleague was making triple what I was making for doing less than I was doing. It triggered a thought. Now, I negotiated my salary. He didn't. But it triggered a thought at the time that perhaps I had undersold myself because I wanted to fit in and I wanted life to be easier and simpler. So I undersold myself, literally saying to everybody, I don't think I'm worth this amount. Looking back now, I realize a lot of women go through it. So today on Shiro's, conversations worth having. 3 women, powerful women, each with very different experiences. Maybe not the same, but at least they have touched this conversation or touched this experience some way, somehow. We'll share their experiences, but most importantly, they will share life lessons. So Tucci's in the house. Tucci, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Anita.
Fantastic. This jacket is staying right here in the studio with me, and I know it'll fit. Mavis.
It sure will.
Mavis, you're welcome.
Thank you, Anita.
Okay, and Yasmin. So Tucci, we will start off with you. Who are you? And this journey to becoming this woman sitting in front of me, what does it look like?
Wow, I'd say my journey is a little bit weird because I never planned it, not 1 second. I'm Tucci. I currently head the Ghana Commodity Exchange, but that's really just a job today at a moment in time. When I started my life as a little child, I knew what I wanted to study, but I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. So at 5 years old, I said I'm going to study politics, French, English, history, and that's exactly what I did at A-level.
At 5 years old, you knew this?
I was a weird little child. Then, when it came to work, I said I either wanted to work in marketing, journalism, or law.
And how old were you when you knew what you wanted to pursue?
In school, high school. So I ended up doing that. I ended up working in marketing. Today I work in general business management as an offshoot of that. But I do things around journalism. I write. So I get to, really follow all my passions. However, when I actually started my career, at that point I said to myself, I want to start a family. I'm going to have 6 kids. I'm going to have a house full of kids. The picture was very clear in my mind. But when it came to work, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I started working and then the picture changed. Every year or 2, I was getting promoted, I was moving around, never planning any single step. And that's quite in contrast to a lot of women I meet on a daily basis. They know exactly what they want to do. After this role, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to work towards this, and this is how I'm going to climb up the ladder. So people will often ask me, how have you, reached this level of success, or what did you do to climb the ladder? And my answer in short is, I've just been working and loving what I do. Every single step of the way, and I'm growing. I'm not afraid to, take challenges, and that's a little bit my story. So it is different. So who am I? I'm somebody who loves life. I get responsibilities. I take them very seriously. So anything that's asked of me, once I agree to do it, I put everything into it. And God is at the center of my life. So in a snapshot, that's me. I hope that
amen.
answers the question.
These 2 ladies work in HR. You're probably thinking, every HR professional's dream. You probably put people in jobs hoping they will love it as much as Tucci has described. But before I come to you ladies, at this point when you're working, you're being promoted, Were you discovering yourself as in, I love where I am? Or were you discovering yourself as in, I like where I am, but I think I'll love it somewhere else?
I've loved where I am every single step. I've never thought I'd love it somewhere else. But what I have thought as I've, progressed in my career is, okay, I've tried this, I was good at it, I might be good at something else. So if other opportunities come, I won't necessarily say no. And this is something which changed at some point in my career, because earlier on, when I was asked to take on new things, I used to think about it first. Spend a lot of time saying, should I? Is this the right thing for me? But now it's, okay, why not? If I've been approached to do it, somebody must think I might be good at it, and I've proven myself so far. So now I'm, ready to take challenges, and that's characterizing me a little bit more now.
Wow, I wish I could do this. I wish I could just be in that job, be so good at it, love it, and not think about the next place or the next phase. Mavis,
Yes.
you are, of course, an HR professional. How did you get into it? And do you like HR? And be honest.
I do. But there are times that, sometimes you really you're thinking about the person could be better when the person sits in front of you. And then most of the times the CVs they put in front of you. And then you're reading it and what the person is talking about. There's a contrast between what is in front of you and what the person is talking about. And I know sometimes probably it's because of confidence level or something like that. But with time, when you really listen to what they are not saying, that's when you realize that this person is capable of doing what they said they can do.
Have you always done what you love? Is HR something you've loved, or is it by necessity?
Okay, so for me, growing up, I always wanted to be an air hostess. That's what I wanted to do. So interestingly, I still have that on my bucket list.
It's gonna happen?
Yes, it's gonna
Which
happen.
airline, please?
Like that. So I've always had that. And then when I was growing up, my grandmom had a shop. So it was a hobby for me every time from school, going to sit with her in the shop and sell. But I never thought of it like someday I want to be in a business society. But all I wanted to be was an air hostess. But growing up with her and then going to school, then when I go into high school, it changed. I just wanted to be a personal assistant to a big boss. But then after high school, then it changed again. So I've always had a different mindset, okay, I could be something else more than what I'm actually envisaging. And so from school, traveled outside, had the opportunity to travel outside, then work in a retail environment. And then from there, worked there for a while, for almost a decade. Then I said, hold on a second, I can actually do something and also being able to hire people. So then diverted from there to become my own boss. So that has been the journey.
Quite the journey.
Yes. So I learned so many different things, and I love to always explore. So everything that comes my way, I'm like, okay, let me just have a few of this, do
And
this,
why
do
not?
that. Yes.
You should be able to be as many things as you want to be
Exactly.
in one life.
And then even till today, I still feel like I've done nothing. And so always just pushing myself to do the next thing. And you have family and friends like, when will you just stop? Pause a little bit. I'm like, no, I have so much to give, so let me keep going until I can't anymore.
Yasmin, when I first met you through African Bagg, by the way, I didn't even know you owned the company because you were this little tiny individual. But I think one of the things that struck me was your drive. And have you always had that drive in your life? And what has it done for you?
I think I've always had that drive. Listening to other ladies, I was just thinking back about myself and my life and where I started. But I started working when I was 15. I've worked in retail. I've worked at the kitchen in Golden Tulip, cutting onions, sacks of onions every day. So I can't stand cutting onions now. So I've done a lot of different work, and I wanted to be a PA also when I was in school. And so I, as part of GCSEs, whatnot, I took extra courses to do shorthand. So I learned how to type without having to look at my fingers because I wanted to be slightly different. from everyone else. So I literally memorized where all the keys are and everything and how to write letters, etc. And then I went to, in the UK, you have the option of temping. So I didn't want to get into permanent work because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I went to do as the assistant of the assistant.
Wow. Down there.
Right down there. So I was working for the assistant, typing away, etc. And then I did a bit of events whilst I was there, organizing events. And then I then decided that actually, then I moved jobs because I wanted to be in a big company that has more structures, etc., more recognizable. So I went there as a temp, absolutely loved the team, great marketing team, and I studied marketing, so I thought, oh, this is great for me. Mm-hmm. And then I sort of hovered around in different departments of marketing, so I did digital, PR, etc. And the head of marketing loved me so much just because I was literally, anything you threw at me, I would do it. And I was just a temp, I wasn't getting paid that much, but I would do it. So she actually advised me that there was and this is a company where the whole floor, I was the only black person there. You have to live from Africa, So she said to me, there was a senior lady actually who was from Ghana also. She was like, listen, she's so senior in the company, she's very well respected. Why don't you reach out to her and let her be your mentor? And I felt like that really guided me in what I wanted to do as well, because she was so just little chit chats about just life in general, working in the UK, showing the roots a little bit. So and then my mom wasn't feeling too well, so she wanted me to come home. So I decided to come home, then I couldn't find work, and I decided, okay, right, let me just set up this business, do HR, and then find people, work with international companies. So I was struggling with it here in Ghana, and then I went back to the UK, and then I happened to meet a group of people who were coming to set up Viasat actually here in Ghana, and I just remember saying, oh, I've got this business, I'm doing recruitment, this and that, and I was so forceful. I think they didn't even have a chance to say.
They didn't have a chance to say, are you sure?
Yeah. So, and I didn't even have a website then. And so I just literally, gathered some CVs, called people and in Ghana and, paying my way through. And then that's how.
Here we are. After the break, we go into the experiences that each one of these ladies has had and what it has done to shape not just her journey, but her personality, her character, and her attitude to life. We'll be back after this.
I can tell you that I've never gone into one of those situations feeling, anything less than confident. I've had the practice. If I wasn't challenged and I wasn't able to beat those challenges, I might be nervous going into a room full of senior people, not knowing, what I had to bring to the table.
Previously on Sheroes.
When I was growing up, my grandmom had a shop. So it was a hobby for me every time from school, going to sit with her in the shop and sell. But I never thought of it like someday I want to be in a business society. But all I wanted to be was an air hostess. But growing up with her and then going to school, then when I go into high school, it changed. I just wanted to be a personal assistant to a big boss.
Tucci, describe the kinds of experiences that have molded you. The good, well, especially the bad. And at that moment of learning life and going through a failure, how it shaped your life, how it shaped your character, your personality.
I'd say a lot of the jobs I've had actually have been extremely challenging. So I've either had to set up new businesses, I've had to go and work in a country where maybe the business was failing and my task was either you turn it around or shut it down, things like that. So it's always been a challenge. It's not, I've never really gone into a humdrum situation where just continue the good work that's being done. So it's been tough. There have been times when, I have a clear agenda, I know exactly what I want to do, and then something else comes in the way. There was a time I went to work in Guinea, and this was one of those occasions where it was, make or break, you need to do something. 2 or 3 months in, we were struck by Ebola. The whole country was down, businesses were down, cars were getting burned, people were dying, and markets were closed. You really couldn't do business. I'm happy to say though that, funny enough, we still got a good result after just 1 year with all of that going on, but it wasn't without its challenges. We had a team member who suddenly passed away, and it wasn't from Ebola, it was from heart failure, but that was right in the middle of it all. So it was tough getting the team to be motivated, from one day to the next, not knowing if their jobs would, be on the line, and all of these tragedies, and still having to push through it. It does toughen you up. It gives you tough skin. Being a woman as well, this is something I don't usually talk a lot about, because I talk about leadership, and for me, leadership is universal. It's not about female leaders, male leaders. It's about what you bring to the table. But we can't sometimes escape the fact that some people perceive differences. So as a woman, and as a pretty smallish woman in stature, walking into some boardrooms full of African old men, you also need to be a little bit steely. I can tell you that I've never gone into one of those situations feeling anything less than confident. I've had the practice. If I wasn't challenged and I wasn't able to beat those challenges, I might be nervous going into a room full of senior people, not knowing, what I had to bring to the table. But the fact that, I was able to overcome each and every time hurdles were put before me, that certainly increased my confidence. So it's not, little things that are going to rattle me. People talk about not sweating the small stuff. When you have to deal with big things, when you get blows and you're able to push past them, that certainly toughens you as a person, but also as a leader. So these are some positive. I always say that failures make you positive, but also challenges and risks. If you're able to overcome fears and fear of failure, I think it just makes you that much stronger. You cannot be a leader if you don't experience challenges and overcome them.
I'm thinking of Tucci the Great, and I say this with all due respect to your journey and how you're describing it. I'm sure there's so much more that you've gone through. Mavis, I bring you into the conversation of this great woman and situations where that a great woman like Tucci is unable to understand her value enough to negotiate what she is due.
Right.
Have you seen it? Have you heard it? And if you have, what could be the cause of this from your perspective?
I have seen it, heard it, experienced it, and overcome it.
Tell me about it.
So, when I finished uni, I went to the States, and I happened to work with a Fortune 500 company. We were about 21 that they employed. And out of this 20, I was the only African, born in Ghana, raised in Ghana. The rest were African Americans and white. And they gave all of us sales associates. It was a retail company. And at a point in time, I realized that my pay was less than everybody else, all because of where you're coming from. So what I said to myself is, I'm not going to accept that. I didn't want to go and negotiate, but I made sure that my value was felt. And so I decided to take on so much responsibilities that they would not do. I said to myself that I want to become their team leader, eventually be a manager. That's what I was envisaging whilst I was there. And so for 3 months, we're all like sales associates, but then I learned how to run the cash wrap. And so when they have someone call out, I'll be called to gum on the cash wrap, which I did it. And then I thought it wasn't enough. I always want to push myself because I can do it. Then I became friends with the merchandising group. All I wanted to prove was, if there should be any time that they want to lay off people, I become an asset that you can't touch. And so I learned how to do merchandising. And all these they have not been paid for because it's not part of your responsibility, but then you just want to do it. And I remember the district manager came there, and she asked the store manager, who is this girl? And they said, Mavis. So she said, oh, so you are the Mavis the Great. I didn't even know that they were giving me a name. Apparently, it's my store manager that when they go for meetings, she's been mentioned, like, this girl, she's awesome, all of that. And so she asked me, what do you want to be? And I said, oh, one day run the show. So I remember my manager was like, you want to run me off? And I said, no, but that's what I'm trying to envisage. And so after 6 months, then they asked me to be a team lead. I remember that the 21 people that were there, that time were about 19. Oh, they had this, I mean, you coming from nowhere, blah, 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 all those things. Exactly, but then I was like, I'm just focused because I know what I need from here. And in a year and 2 months, I became an assistant manager. So worked my way out, and then the people that I worked in with, now they were under me. But still did not make people feel that you can't do this, push them. Being able to make them negotiate for their value, especially the women. Because I can tell you that most of the time, women always apply for things that they 100% experience in them, whilst men have 40 to 60%. But because of the confidence, and this it started from since nature, time immemorial, and we even started from our own homes, that men can do this, women can do this, so all those things come to play. But then if you have that mindset and that focus, determination that, no, you have that value, you can make it count. And even till today, so after all these, I came back to Ghana trying to open a security company, Global Sky, and then also open a consultancy company. I remember I walked into a meeting, and I got there, and they were all men. Because for security, they're looking at a man's shoe, right? It's a man's world. So the person that was chairing the meeting was like, oh, so Ms. Leonards, are you here representing your boss? And I'm like, no. I said, I'm representing myself and I'm the boss. They said, a woman running a security company? How is that? So always you have to bring something to the table. Your value will have to count. And when you have that confidence and that courage, and you make sure that people know what you bring into the table, then you are respected.
So is it okay if I come in here? Because,
absolutely, Tucci,
that story was just perfect, and it illustrates a lot of, what I say to people. Negotiation is extremely important and it's critical, but sometimes I think we also give ourselves a hard time.
Yes.
When you're starting out in your career, negotiating out of nowhere, it can be difficult to do. You don't know necessarily your value,
Right.
You have no experience, you have nothing to bring to the table. So you can go and open your mouth and ask for a raise and compare your salary to others, but really what are you bringing? You
Right.
don't yet know. So it's okay at the very beginning if you're not that confident in negotiating,
Right.
but what's important is putting the work in.
Yes.
Once you start to establish your worth, and it becomes apparent to everyone around you, because it's not enough for you to say,
Right.
I work hard. Everyone else has to say, this is an asset. Once you're getting to that point, then you have every right to negotiate.
Right.
So I think it's really important to establish that as well. Some people go and they start negotiating from the very beginning. They've got nothing to offer, or at least nothing to prove, and that can also bite them in the back yet. And that's the operative word.
It's funny how you say that, because even today I was interviewing a gentleman, and then he's literally done volunteering work and just finished national service. And I asked him, what's your salary expectation? And he had quoted something over and beyond the standard, what the standard range would be. So I was sort of like, well, either he doesn't know what he's about. Like, I wasn't quite sure how to judge him in the interview. So I had to say to him that, no, actually, I would give you this amount. This is the salary I think you should start off with. And then he was very much like, no, I think this is the, and I said, listen, I'm not going to argue with you, thank you very much, and that's it. I think if you're starting out, yes, negotiate to what you can, but when you're negotiating, you also have to understand, like, your maybe your transport, like, factor so many things in, your expenses, like, start from that, and then check what the actual industry rate is. And I think it's harder for women as well, because sometimes they would sell themselves short, mainly because they want to just get in, and they don't factor in some of these expenses that they might have, or some of these, or even be able to communicate their value very.
We'll be back after this.